the thought of staying in the U.S. and like spending our last years like on a rocking chair on the front porch was really unappealing.
Have you ever thought about what it would be like to search for that perfect retirement location?
We're in search of our favorite cool weather retirement city.
Today, I give you that exact story.
Just my Social Security check, even at 62, it will cover all of our expenses in every place that we're going.
What all is involved?
Try to come and kind of blend into the culture.
¿Están haciendo tortillas a mano?
And not try to force your culture on wherever it is that you're going to live.
Good breathtaking here in northern Nicaragua. A very Latino Christmas indeed.
Enjoy. Welcome back to Generic Expats. Today I find myself in a mountain town in the northern part of Nicaragua. I just arrived recently and I am very blessed to be here with a guest who has been living here for some time. We're going to get some information from him, find out what is his story, where he's from, and let's go ahead and present this nice gentleman here. So, could you tell us what is your name, where are you from, and how long you've been here for?
Hey Eric, my name is Scott Moore, here in Matagalpa, Nicaragua with my wife Lydia, who's originally from Corinto, Nicaragua, and we are in search of our favorite retirement city, and this was our first stop. So we are cool weather lovers, so we tried to pick one of the cooler cities of Nicaragua because it's overall pretty hot place. But this is our first stop. Lydia's mom turned 90 in November, so this was important for us to start our journey here in Nicaragua. But we're kind of going to go take 4 or 5 years maybe to go, basically traveling between Mexico and Argentina, just in search of our favorite retirement city.
That sounds like an awesome plan, an awesome little adventure. Let's go back to your personal information about where you're from and all that. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. From the U.S., I was born in Florida, lived on a little island called Siesta Key off of Sarasota for most of my years. Lived down in Naples, Florida for several years. And then the last 20 years or so, we were up in North Carolina and Winston-Salem and Greenville, South Carolina.
So you basically have spent a lot of time in the heat, and is that why you're looking for a cooler place now?
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up on the beach in Florida. Everybody always says, "Oh, I grew up in Florida, so I'm used to the heat." I never ever got used to the heat. And my wife growing up in Corinto is one of the few places that I know that's like hotter than Florida. So my wife's house was like a 3-minute walk to the Pacific Ocean. And it's like the hottest summer day in Florida. That's what it's like every day in Corinto.
For those that don't know, I checked it out on the map. It's right next to Chinandega, right? Chinandega,
Yeah, Chinandega,
which is the northwestern part of Nicaragua, going towards the Honduras border. You have been here for nearly 1 year, is that correct?
Yeah, we got here in February, and mostly it's been great. I mean, there's positive and negative things about every place, but for the most part, we have really enjoyed being here.
So let's talk a little bit more about that. I wanted to mention and ask you about your channel. You make content about living here, is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, our channel is mostly about how to get out of the rat race, get off the hamster wheel, retire a little bit early maybe if you're kind of one of those people that are trying to figure out, have I saved enough? Do I have enough money? Is it really possible to go somewhere and live on smaller amounts of money? So it's all about, the idea of, there are just so many great places to go where almost every place we're going, the cost of living is somewhere between 25 and 50% of what we were spending in the US. So kind of a quick rule of thumb. I mean, here so far, and it's been a little bit different every month, but for the most part, with no budgeting at all. I mean, Lydia and I do anything we want to, anytime we want to, going out to dinner. Uh, but when we have a nice 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, it's up in the mountains. It's got this spectacular view of the city, especially at night. It's just gorgeous. But we spend like, I almost embarrassed to say it, but it's like $1,000 to $1,100 a month. Add on maybe $200 for our 2 dogs, for food for them, vet bills, things like that.
That's
But
impressively low, isn't it?
yeah, it's really, really, really inexpensive.
It has recently come to my attention that I have not given the proper introduction to tell you why my videos and my information is so useful. You see, I've been traveling since 2013, nearly non-stop. Many of it has been within Asia and Latin America. I spent 5 years in Vietnam. And just 5 years ago, I started my full-time lifestyle as the digital nomad that I am today, where I spent at least 1 month in the following countries: Argentina, Brazil, Peru, Colombia, Ecuador, Mexico, Guatemala, and El Salvador. And in this time, I've been doing everything that I've been bringing to my channel here at Generic Expats. Now what this means is that I've been arranging my own accommodation and tasting the local cuisine, checking out the cost of living, looking for entertainment options, checking to see if these places are dangerous, learning how the weather is, and just the overall well-being of a foreign expat living in each one of these new cities. Let's talk a little bit more about retiring early and that type of situation, because from what I understand, you worked in this type of field back in the United States, is that correct?
It is. I was in the retirement services business or financial services business. My dad and my grandfather were in the business for 40 years each. I didn't quite make 40. I made 37, but it was a business that I grew up in. So like when I was a kid sitting around the family dinner table, that was kind of the topic. So it's all about, making money with investments and what to do with the money to invest it to get a nice income so you can retire early.
This brings me back to you and your personal story. Are you retired right now?
I am retired. I retired I can't remember what my last day was, like end of January, beginning of February this year. So it's been quite a change. I mean, I went from working long hours Monday through Friday. My wife Lydia had her own business, which was she had a clothing business. So we were on the weekends. I was loading and unloading trucks for her with these giant boxes full of clothes. So we were ready to retire. I mean, when I'd work 5 days a week and then help her on the weekends a little bit. So we were ready to go.
So do you have some information you can give about people that are interested in learning a little bit more about retiring early and getting prepared to do this part of your life, this next stage of your life? For example, I know many people, it's kind of an overwhelming thing to try and go from working your entire life and finally just tapering off and stopping completely, having your financial life prepared for that in order to have enough money for the rest of what you're going to be doing for the next years. So can you give us more information about that?
Sure. I mean, there's some really, really basic rules of thumb that you can use. Like the first one is that in a lot of all the places that we're going to go visit, I mean, if you've got a Social Security check, you're probably fine. Social Security. I'm not old enough yet. I will get my first Social Security check in July. So right now everything's coming out of pocket. But once you have your Social Security check, and you can kind of investigate online, Numbeo.com is a great source of how much a city costs. You can even do comparisons from one city to another. But it gives you some great information about what's likely to what it's likely to run me for cost of living in different cities. But so you can go on SSA.com. You can take a look at your Social Security check. If you don't have an account there, open up an account. It used to be a terrible website. It's actually pretty good now, and you can figure out, like, if I retire at 62 and start taking my Social Security check, then I'm going to get about this much. If I wait till 63 or 64, every year that you delay it, you get credit. So your check is about 8% larger than the year before. Once you start taking it, it kind of locks that in. So
You said the earlier you retire, the less you get on that payout, right? Do you have any tips for people that are trying to do the early retirement?
yeah, so for Social Security, it's you're betting on your life expectancy. So a lot of it is how healthy you are, family history, things like that. If you're trying to figure out if you're just pulling everything out of pocket, um, and I'm going to get pros and cons to this, people will comment on this, but there's a really easy rule of thumb called the 4% rule. And you can go, there's a lot of information out there about like FIRE, financial independent, retire early. All those people will talk about the 4% rule, but basically what it is they did all these studies that just show if you've got a moderate mix of stocks and bonds and you take 4% a year, you'll never run out of money over a 25-year retirement. So you can do very easy things like index mutual funds. I'm not trying to give any investment advice. I don't know anybody here on the channel. But the 4% rule is an easy way to figure it out. So if you've got $1,000, moderate mix of stocks and bonds, you can take about $4,000 a year. So that's kind of a real
$100,000, right?
real basic rule of thumb. If you got $1 million, you take 40,000. So just
That's per year.
per year.
Very good tips. Appreciate that because lots of those things. I mean, I'm sure some people already know that have done some research, but people that are just starting out, it's probably a good thing to know and understand. And also, of course, one huge part of retiring and moving to a new place is the cost of living. So you said you are spending about $1,100. Let's talk a little bit more about the cost of living here in Nicaragua. What are the types of things you're spending money on, and how does it equal that amount of money?
Yeah, it's for our 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, it's $340 a month,
Is that furnished or unfurnished?
unfurnished. Yeah, and that was we did look around for furnished places. They're hard to find, and so at some point we were just like, okay, we'll buy the stuff, sell it on since we're going to be here a while, we'll just sell it on marketplace. And but 340 for rent. Let's see, you've got gas. We have a gas oven and stove. That probably runs about $12 a month. Cell phone, Lydia and I spend about $15 each for cell phones, so about $30 there. We don't have a car, and actually, that's something if you're thinking about retiring, that's something you'll have to think about. For us, we absolutely do not ever want another car. We're hoping we may buy a motorcycle or something at some point just to scoot around on.
Do you want to buy a Honda NC700X? I'm just kidding. I'm not selling it. Not selling it. Sorry.
Yeah, so we did not want to deal with car insurance, gasoline, repairs. I kept thinking, I'm going to get a gringo price for every repair, unless I send Lydia in.
And to be honest, now that you talk about that, when you're just trying to live and have a calm lifestyle, and in Latin America, there's so much for transport options because in the US, we have this mentality you have to have a car. You have to have a car.
Yeah.
And that's not how it is outside of the US. So, I mean, in some places, yes, it is. But in a lot of parts of Latin America, it really is. Is that how you feel like it is here?
Yeah, it's so easy to get around. I mean, like most of the time when we take a taxi, it costs about $1. And if we take one like all the way from one side of town to the other, it might be $2. They do charge you, at least here, per person. So like if it's a short run and it's 30 Cordobas, it's about $37, 37 Cordobas to $1. But so like if Lydia and I go up, it might be 60 Cordobas, so $1.50 for the both of us. And it's so easy. And once you're here for a while, like we have some really good friends that are taxi drivers. So if we know we're going someplace, we give them a quick call. Hey, where are you? Are you close by? They'll swing by and get us. or if we say, hey, we want you to, could you pick us up at a restaurant at 7 o'clock tonight and bring us home, they'll come grab us. So really, really easy to get around.
Pay a bit on transport. How much would that be per month on that overall bill?
It's way under $100.
It's pretty crazy to think about, right?
I mean, really, really inexpensive. There are buses here. We don't ride the buses because the taxis are just so cheap. But
Any other things you're spending on, like going out to restaurants and bars or like excursions or something?
yeah, we don't go out a lot, but restaurants, we probably spend $100 a month on restaurants.
Between the two of you, right?
Yeah, for both of us. Two things we do for food. We go to the mercado. I'm vegan. Lydia, my wife, is almost vegan, but she eats a little bit of seafood. So the majority of our food comes from the big markets. And that's where you get the really, really inexpensive, great organic fruits and veggies. And just, I mean, they're in abundance. You can't walk down the street without just seeing fruit and vegetable vendors everywhere. So that's the big place. And then for all the other stuff, for sauces and things like that, like right across the street, we're kind of staring at one of the big supermarkets here, La Estrella. 3 supermarkets here in Matagalpa, 2 La Estrellas, 1 La Colonia. There are a couple other ones, but those are the 3 that we go to all the time. And they're really nice. Down in La Colonia, you can get a lot of American products. So
I actually go to La Colonia. I'm living right now in Granada, and La Colonia is just the most convenient place to go shopping because I absolutely hate lines. And there are some supermarkets that like literally it seems like they were made to create lines. That Maxi Pali or whatever it's called, and this other one, La Union. Every time I go there, I have a couple things in my hand, and I see 7 people with a full grocery, a full cart. That's gonna take 90 minutes to go through the line, one person attending them. So yeah, anyways, that's a great thing to do to make sure that you're getting both high quality and low price things, is going to the mercado. I actually don't cook at all here in Nicaragua because the food is actually really good. I really love the taste, the flavor of the food, the value. It's really low cost and high quality, and also it's healthy, which I look for all those things, and I love it here for that reason. I barely cook at all. Do you cook a lot at home, or do you mostly eat out?
I cook a lot.
Is it difficult finding vegan and vegetarian options here?
Not too bad. I mean, most of the places now you can go in, like some places it's like you start looking through the menu, like the only thing you can find is, hey, you're gonna have to bring me like a giant plate of French fries. But for the most part, you gallo pinto, rice and beans everywhere, and a lot of the little mom and pop places, they're out like on the street making like homemade tortillas. You can kind of hear them slapping the tortillas around.
¿Están haciendo tortillas a mano? Están muy ricas estas. Slap, 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 slap. Good breathtaking here in northern Nicaragua.
So yeah, great food here. We really enjoy it.
Have you always wanted to check out Latin America, but you felt it was too risky because it was too dangerous and you don't have any contacts there? Are you looking to go to an exotic tropical place, such as climbing a mountain or a volcano? Or are you looking to catch some sun on the beach? Or go on a boat tour? Here at Generic Expats, we offer generic tours to give you that safety, security, and that helpful connection with me to be able to do these tours with no fear. Follow along on genericsworld.net and you can see where I am and book a tour for the following locations as I'm driving south on my motorcycle through Latin America. So we mentioned quite a few things about the cost of living here, and definitely when I talked to Scott about that and other people I've talked to that are going to be on this channel, they all mentioned the same thing, that it's a massive benefit. Let's talk a bit about the advantages of being here in Nicaragua. What are the things that you see as the main benefits? And then talk about a few of the disadvantages, of course. What are the struggles or the difficulties? And then we can move on and talk a bit about your channel and about what you're doing with your channel and what you're doing in your life. Also, it's a very interesting story. So let's start with those advantages first.
because my brain kind of works as like a planner, I started researching retiring abroad 10 years ago, maybe.
Wow.
I mean, so I kind of started looking around the internet, nosing around. Lydia and I had lived in Costa Rica a long, long time ago. And just, we were very fortunate. We got to travel to a lot of different countries when we were still living in the US. So, we knew we wanted to retire abroad.
Before we go on, where in Costa Rica did you live and why did you not stay there?
We were very, very young. We lived right outside of San Jose. So the main place was called Dulce Nombre, which is kind of maybe 15 minutes up the mountains away from San Jose. Just moved because we were young. I didn't have enough money saved for retirement back then. So eventually we were like, okay, it's time to, head back to the US, go to work. And so unfortunately we had to leave, but we had so many great memories of Costa Rica and all the other countries that we have been to. And the thought of staying in the US and like spending our last years like on a rocking chair on the front porch was really unappealing.
Yeah, it's not for you. So you are a more adventurous type of couple and you want to continue checking out new places and finding a place that gives you kind of a way to explore as you are retiring and enjoying that time, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk a bit more about the benefits here and why this place could be the spot for you to choose as the retirement place.
Yeah, we had like a list of all the kind of boxes that we wanted to check. And at the end of this journey, 4 or 5 years from now, hopefully we'll have kind of a check the box list for all the different places that we've gone to. Nicaragua checks a lot of them. One of the things, of course, we already touched on was we wanted cool weather. So that kind of eliminated a lot of places right away. Like a lot of people want to head right for the beach. Most of the beach places were kind of crossed right off the list. So we wanted cool weather, which usually means kind of up in the mountains or in the highland area. We wanted a place with, fairly safe. We didn't want to be in any kind of violent areas. We felt really, really safe.
Nicaragua is very safe, right?
Very safe. I mean, we haven't had any issue at all ever since we've been here. Our neighbors take good care of us. They're kind of constantly watching out for us. So safety's been great. The weather still may not be cool enough now. 10 years from now, as we get older, how everybody kind of goes to Florida to get warm because all of a sudden you're 70 years old and you always feel cold. I mean, maybe we might make a beeline for Matagalpa again. Right now, it's a little too warm for us.
So let's talk a little bit about Matagalpa and its altitude, because that's one of the benefits, but it's not exactly what you're looking for, right?
Yeah.
What is the altitude of this city?
So here, I think we're somewhere around 2,200 feet. I think it's 700 and something meters.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a bit warmer than the Goldilocks zone, but it's much cooler than the beach and the sea level area. So what are the main temps that you've been feeling so far here?
Well, I'm trying to get used to Celsius.
You can do Fahrenheit. Most of the people use Fahrenheit in this channel, the American and Canadians that watch at least.
Well, right now, December, January, if you want to come and have great weather, December, January is awesome. Because like every day now, it's like high of around 80. The low at night goes down 66, 68, somewhere around there. So real comfortable. But yeah, if you're trying to get to Nicaragua and you want a cooler area, this is kind of where you want to come.
What exactly are you looking for in terms of the averages? So 80, is that too high for you, or is it just that it's only these couple months that has these cooler months?
Well, both. I mean, we'd love it if it was like 70 every day and it went down to 45 at night. I mean,
Okay, so I got a couple suggestions for you. Just based on that, I can give it to you really quickly. Arequipa, Peru,
Yep.
which is where I just lived in for this past year for 3 months. Where you're going, which we'll talk about in a second, Quetzaltenango is a great spot. Antigua is quite good, not as cold because it's 1,500 meters, but it can get to the high 50s. Those are the ones that come up to me right now. There's a couple places in Mexico as well. Mexico has some really high areas that go quite cold like that as well, like Puebla.
Yeah.
Puebla is another area that it's quite high in the mountains and it is quite chilly at night. So that could be an option as well. you also have a family tie here, right?
We do. So Lydia's family is all about half here in Nicaragua, about half in Costa Rica.
She's from Nicaragua, right?
She's from Nicaragua, born in Corinto. And yeah, so we have the family ties here. We also wanted a place with, we weren't looking for the lowest cost of living, but we wanted something that was, low to moderate, I guess. And, that fit the bill here, with our cost of living going between 1,000 and 1,100 a month or so. So yeah, low cost of living, safe place, decent health care.
Have you used the healthcare since you've been here?
We have, and there's some stuff here that's really, really cool. Like the doctors will come right to your house and do house calls.
Yeah.
Absolutely awesome. Our vet does house calls. He comes over and sees the dogs. So anytime they need immunization or anything like that. Another thing, I'll just mention one, is every time you go into a bank, I don't go into the banks too much, but banks and other locations, if you're 60 and over, you get the short line. So really, really cool. You might have 5 people in line instead of like 200 people.
Is that not the same in the U.S.? I'm not sure how it is in the U.S.
I don't. It's been so long since I've been in the banks. Like you don't go in a bank in the U.S. now unless you have something to complain
Everything
about.
is online and stuff,
Yeah.
right? Are there any other major benefits before we go to the disadvantages or the struggles?
I would say that's just about it, except and you hear this everywhere you go. It's like the people are so nice. The people here have been absolutely wonderful to us. Matagalpa is not touristy, so a lot of times I get the "you look like you have 3 heads" kind of look, like
Looking at
yeah, like this. I get some really crazy looks, but usually if you just like when I say "buenos dias" or something like that, all of a sudden you get the big smile. I mean, the weird look goes away. So yeah, people are super nice here.
Yeah. So far in my 4 weeks I've been here already in Nicaragua, and I've been in many cities so far. Lovely people, very, very friendly. And yet I get that look too because where I'm staying in Granada, it's on like a farm outside of Granada. It's not actually in the city. So I drive out to this little farm apartment where I'm staying, this full furnished apartment, which is beautiful, cows and I hear the neighing horses in the morning.
That's cool.
And it's so nice. And I see all these, like, I see sheep and I see all these things. And it's like, I have really good internet. I have views of like good sunrises and all this stuff. So anyways, that is another thing that I've really enjoyed. And I think people coming here or people that don't know Nicaragua, maybe they don't know what to expect. And from our personal stories, we definitely love that. Now let's talk about maybe 2 difficulties you have here.
A couple of the things that you struggle with is one, if you're not in the touristy spot, and we kind of, since Lydia's a native Spanish speaker, I can speak basic Spanish. But if your Spanish is pretty light, being here in Matagalpa would be a little bit challenging maybe because you're not going to run into very many English speakers. There are a handful of expats that I run into here, but not a lot. So you want to practice up your Spanish.
How many expats have you seen here so far?
5 or 6.
And you've been here
It's
since
almost
February,
a year.
you said?
Yeah.
So almost a year, 5 or 6. Not a super big expat
Yeah.
hub, that's for sure.
No.
Okay, so the Spanish part, the local language, and then another difficulty?
There is some, and this is just kind of traveling around Nicaragua in general, but not here in like downtown Matagalpa, but there are spots like driving in, like you will see some kind of in your face poverty. And if you're not used to it, it can be a little off-putting. So
Yeah, there's some pretty challenging sights you can see. I mean, because the type of poverty we see in the U.S. is not the same as that exists here and pretty much all of Latin America that I've seen. And the first time you see that, the first couple times, it can be kind of shocking. So yeah, I understand that too. And by the way, going back to the languages part, if anyone's looking at learning some basic Spanish, I actually offer online basic Spanish one-on-one courses, and I make a personalized plan for people that are interested in doing that. If you want to go live in a place like Matagalpa that doesn't have many English speakers, you can try and really improve that before you come on over if that's your idea. Are you planning to travel to or live in Latin America, but your language skills in Spanish are just not where you want them to be?
I don't speak Spanish!
Here at Generic Languages, we help you improve so that you are ready to be confident and flourish from Mexico all the way down to Argentina. Check out Generic Languages courses for up to a 30% discount on genericsworld.net. You feel pretty comfortable even despite these things though, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Let's talk a bit more about what you're doing on your channel and what you're doing with your project, because it's super cool. It's really similar to what I'm doing, but in a very different way. So I'm really excited to hear you talk about it. So you are going to be staying in Matagalpa for just a little while, right?
Lydia and I kind of started this. We have 4 daughters and 10 grandchildren. And the thought was, we're just going to kind of document our travels. We're planning on spending 3 months, 6 months, a year in a city, really get to know the city, and then off to another place. And the idea was, if nothing else, this will be like a video scrapbook for kids and grandkids, whether they're just kind of watching what grandma and grandpa are weird things we're doing, or if it's 10 years from now or 20 years from now and they just want to see like, wow, grandma and grandpa aren't here anymore, but look at all this cool stuff they did and all the videos are on YouTube. But we're basically just taking, we're slow traveling and doing bigger chunks of time in these different cities. We're in search of our favorite cool weather retirement city.
Is there a certain maximum cost that you're looking for per month for the two of you? Because your wife is also retired, right? So there's no income coming in besides what you have in your retirement.
Correct. Yeah, we're strictly living off savings now. In July, I will start getting my first Social Security check. So really, just my Social Security check, even at 62, it will cover all of our expenses in every place that we're going.
Okay.
Now, we have savings, so if we need, to pull a little money out, we can.
What is the exact number or around the number you're looking at spending in each one of these places? Because you must have researched it a lot. What is that magic number you're trying to do?
My Social Security check is going to be somewhere around 2,100. Lydia's 5 years later will be around 1,000. Again, we can always use that 4% rule to kind of slowly start pulling money out of the retirement account if we need more. It's so inexpensive.
So that's 3,100, and that'll cover pretty much everywhere you go.
Yeah. Once we start getting Lydia's check, we're going to have to be putting money in a savings account. There, we just won't.
Just can't spend it. Right?
Our lifestyle just doesn't spend that much.
Right. Okay. So it's good to have those numbers to kind of put it into perspective. Yeah. All right. So you'll be staying here in Matagalpa for a little while longer, and then you're moving on, aren't you? Where are you going to?
Yeah, so I can kind of tell you the next few stops we're going. We're going to go to Xela or Quetzaltenango, Guatemala. That's our next stop, and we're going to be there in about a month.
And you're spending how long in each one of these places?
Xela, we're planning on staying until our dog Roscoe is gone. Long story, big dog, hard to transport. Both of our dogs are 16 years old, so they're not going to be with us too much longer. So we could be there 6 months, or we might be there a couple years. But we're going to go from Xela and then up a little farther north to San Cristobal de las Casas in Mexico. And then we're going to go do South America. So we're looking at Manizales, Colombia, Cuenca, Ecuador, Arequipa, Peru, and then down into Argentina, probably Bariloche or Bariloche. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Bariloche, and then Buenos Aires. And there may be some other stops that we make, as we research on the way down.
You'll slowly get more information as you go along. I'll be frank with you. If you're looking for the lows of 45 and highs of the mid 70s, that's Bogota. Bogota's quite a bit higher. Anyways, that's just a little tidbit for you and for people that have not researched much. I've lived in Colombia a year and a half or so, and I spent about 2 or 3 months in Bogota, more than a year in Medellin. I've traveled through Manizales and stayed there a couple days. But yeah, it is a bit cooler, but yeah, you'll have to just check it out yourself, I guess. So that's an awesome lifestyle that you're going to be doing. And you're going to be making content on your channel, right? Your YouTube channel while you're doing this?
It's going to be the honeymoon phase where everything's wonderful, but then it's also going to be a lot of like, hey, here's the daily grind. I mean, here's what it's like when you're actually living here and staying here. It's not a vacation for a week or two.
What is the name of your YouTube channel?
It's called There Has to Be Something More, and Moore is my last name. It's Moore.
Yeah, that's really good information, good things to see. Like not only having, oh, look at this amazing excursion, look at this amazing church in every city I go to. Focusing on more of the daily things is super important for people that are trying to do something long-term such as this. So I think that's good content to give people And I really think that's going to be a hit. Your channel is very similar to mine in a way that we're both going through and looking at places and trying to like give kind of a rating. I actually started a rating system at the beginning, and I've been so busy I haven't been able to continue with the rating system. What I did in Mazatlan and most of Mexico, actually, I gave a point system. But anyways, maybe I'll start that again. Who knows? With all of this stuff being said, I'm sure everyone is really appreciative of all the knowledge you've given them, all of your insights. Are there any last minute things you could give to people that are considering moving abroad or having an expat lifestyle, living outside the US, maybe retiring outside the US? Any last minute things?
Yeah, I would just say, a lot of these places come with an open mind. You'll hear this over and over again, like from expats, like, try to come and kind of blend into the culture and not try to force your culture on wherever it is that you're going to live. But yeah, come with an open mind. If you're looking, when you move in, if you're going to stay for a longer period of time, 2, 3, 4 months or so, get boots on the ground. I mean, come to the place, get a hotel for 3 or 4 days or a week, and then kind of drive around and find the areas that you like. That's how you're going to find the best rental house when you're looking for rental houses. But that's about it.
Coming out, making that first move, buying that flight and coming out here for a hotel, finding an Airbnb for a week or a month, just really just feeling it for yourself is some of the best advice I've heard from many people so far.
Don't rush into buying a place.
Yeah, don't rush. That's the main thing that Scott in Leon was really, really adamant about. Make sure there's a lot of mischievous or bad information online. So anyways, if you're interested in checking out his videos, definitely watch his content. He's got to have some great content as he continues his journey. The name of your channel again is?
There has to be something more.
Great name, by the way. Really good name. I appreciate you giving me your time coming out here. I'm here in Matagalpa, seeing the city he's been living in. I'm really liking it so far. It is Saturday, November 9th, around 7 p.m. here in northern Nicaragua at Matagalpa exactly. It is starting to feel a lot like Christmas, but a very Latino Christmas indeed. Because I've been in Granada for so long and it's quite hot there. I have AC at my house, so I don't really feel it that much, but I have to be inside to not like get cooked every day. If I'm providing you value and giving you some great stuff to watch, if I'm helping you with your information and your future as an expat, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and continue watching videos with me and these awesome people in these great places. Hasta la próxima.